Hello, this is Sean Fry. Before we start this video, I just have a brief message. It's been sad what's been happening lately. Hurricanes in Texas, Florida, Puerto Rico, not to mention the murders in Las Vegas.
What is strength? Strength is valet parkers who become medics, mothers who become emergency responders, sisters who shield brothers because they love them with a love that has no bounds. Strength is first responders who tirelessly carry visitors and locals alike to safety until sunrise. It's our medics and surgeons, all of them, who come running to the calls of those in need. Strength is what we all are today, and strength is our promise for tomorrow.
But just recently, just down the street from me, up here in Northern California, wildfires. Lots and lots of wildfires. It hasn't been as devastating as the hurricanes, but nevertheless, it's been very devastating for many people. A friend of mine even lost his house, and hundreds of other people are missing. Thousands of people have lost their homes. 29 are confirmed dead. I would just like to bring attention to this issue before you watch this video. Please click the links in the description to see how you can help out and to see some videos describing the situation better than I can and news coverage. We will rebuild. It will take time. We will rebuild. We'll come back from the ashes like a phoenix, stronger than ever. Without further ado, let's start this video. What's up, everyone? Just thought I would start this stream spreading awareness about the Cal wildfires. Links in the description, as I just said in that video that I've actually already posted before. Hey, nice to see you, John. See that you're here. Why don't you share this stream on social media? I'll do a little bit of sharing too. But anyways, let's get this started. Recently, I have found out that well, not found out, I've witnessed as I live here. It rained recently. Finally, rain in Northern California helps with deadly fires. So that's good news. There wasn't a whole lot of rain yesterday, but there definitely was some rain. Noticeable enough that after spending lots of time at my wife's house, not having a change of clothes, just wearing shirt, shorts, and sandals, I regret not having a change of clothes to change into. So, yeah, that happened, but it wasn't enough to be that much of a problem. Now I'm wearing this Raiders gear because holy crap, you are not going to believe what happened last night. Now, I think one of the reasons why the NFL's ratings have been going down in recent years has a lot to do with the fact that they have Thursday night games, and not everybody's going to watch football on Thursday night. It's often a work day for people, and they'd rather, watch on the weekend, and plus there's a lot of primetime television, yada, yada, so on. And I think as a result, that's one of the reasons why their ratings have been going down a bit, but whoever missed the game, you're missing out, because last night's game was freaking epic. And it's probably the sole reason why the Raiders still have a shot at making it to the playoffs. I'll talk about the rest of sports in a bit. I just want to talk about the Raiders for the time being. I'm a Raiders fan, as you can see. And ever since Derek Carr got injured, I was worried. I mean, they lost quite a few games during his injury time, including to the Chargers, who suck. I can't believe they lost to them. But somehow they beat the Chiefs, who still have the best record in football, and that's pretty impressive, to say the least. So let me just show you some footage that happened towards the end of the game. It was freaking nuts. I can't believe the way it ended. I'm sure the NFL is going to not want this video to be shown publicly, yada, yada, whatever. But at least if you watch this live, you'll see. So why not do a screen share? Hopefully more people join so they can see this. or you can just watch the video itself on YouTube, whatever you want to do. Check this out. This is freaking crazy.
Go to Patterson. Here's Carr. Step it up. And so another flag is down. It was right in Cook's hands. We're going to get another play. This game is never going to end prior to the pass. Holding. Defense. Number 38. By rule, the game will be extended for 1 down. Here we go. Untimed down to decide it all. The one-on-one matchup is up top inside. Carr looking left. Drops the middle. He throws. And it was caught, but he was out of bounds. Another flag is on the field. Patterson. Oh, we got another play. Patterson caught it to the back of the end zone. Complete pass. However, there's holding. Defense, number 21. That penalty's half the distance to the goal. One for the books. We'll play another untimed down. Throw to anybody on this play. He's one-on-one up top right here. One more time to decide it. Carr on the run. Throws. And it is caught for the touchdown. Crabtree. Crabtree turns on Mitchell. And that's going to be confirmed for sure, not a doubt.
So yeah, quite an epic turn of events for sure. I am shocked that the game went on that long. There were so many different plays to extend the game. It was nuts, you know. Chiefs just kept putting penalties, and it caused the Raiders to have extra chances to score. And wouldn't you know, they scored a touchdown to tie it, and then they kicked the extra point to win it. And now they actually have a shot, which is pretty amazing. Now, I'll continue to talk about more from the NFL. For example, recently I uploaded a video that I honestly took too long to make, where I was talking about my top 10 most anticipated NFL matchups. And not NFL matchups, but my top 10 most anticipated NFL playoff matchups to see. And a few teams were on the list twice. My Raiders were only on the list twice, so I didn't put them on the list like a bunch of times, and they weren't number 1 or anything, so don't worry. I tried to be as unbiased as I could be when I made the list. But nevertheless, I got some updating to do about the list for sure, because some teams just shouldn't have been mentioned. I'll just name one in particular, the Giants. I did not realize they would be so bad this year, considering how much they improved last year and how much I expected them to be pretty good this year with their 2 big-time wide receivers. But, you know, injuries and Eli Manning being inconsistent as he always is every year, just the way it is. Anyways, I'd like to do a brief update on what teams I would look forward to in the playoffs now that we're this far into the season. Let me just double-check the standings again real quick. This won't take long. And I'll take a look from there when this thing decides to load. But anyway, standings. Okay. So on the AFC side, if the Raiders can... All right, let me actually do a screen share so I can show you the standings on screen. So on the AFC side, if the Raiders can continue to play better now that Derek Carr is back from his injuries, and if they could actually put on a nice big win streak, they can still make it to the playoffs. They're 3rd in their division right now, and they're not out of it yet. And I'd say I still believe that the Raiders and Chiefs would be a really awesome matchup to see in the playoffs, considering how epic last night's game was between those two. I would also enjoy seeing I actually would still enjoy seeing the Patriots against the Raiders. I'd love to see the Patriots against the Chiefs, just to see if the Chiefs can maintain how dominant they started, but look how they're starting to lose a bit. Although they were very close against the Raiders. But let's face it, all those penalties are the reason why the Raiders were able to score the game-winning touchdown. That was kind of lucky. I mean, even as a Raiders fan, I have to admit the Raiders were pretty lucky to win that game, but they did it. They still did it, and it was epic. I would love to see the Patriots against the Chiefs for sure. On the NFC side, I'd love to see the Eagles go against the Panthers again, just to see a rematch between the two, see how that would go. Rams against their division rival Seahawks, see how that would go. That'd be an interesting matchup, I think, if that were to play, if they were both to be in the playoffs. I still think it'd be awesome to see the Saints against the Falcons. Looks like the Saints are actually having a better start this year than they've had in recent years, so maybe they might actually have a shot for once to make it to the playoffs for once. With the injury to Aaron Rodgers on the Packers, I don't know how far they'll go. I mean, the Vikings beat them, as far as I know, pretty easily, if I remember correctly. So that's debatable. Surprised the Dolphins even have a winning record with Jay Cutler as their quarterback, but we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Okay. And if the Bills can finally make it to the playoffs the first time since 1999, I'd feel happy for them. They really need to stop screwing up every year. But yeah, I'd still be interested to see the Steelers go against the Ravens if that were to possibly happen, because they always seem to have close games against each other. I would love to see the Steelers against the Chiefs, just to see the Chiefs maybe finally beat the Steelers after how they've been treated by them lately. AFC South, there's not too many matchups I'd be interested in seeing, considering the AFC South is just totally average. But yeah, there's still a chance for many of these teams to still make it. I'd love to see the Eagles go against the Redskins. The Redskins might start to play a little better later down the line. The Eagles are playing quite good right now, but I'd be interested in seeing that. I'd also be interested to see them go against the Vikings or even the Rams or Seahawks. So, yeah, those are, I guess, updates on what potential playoff matchups I'd love to see. And continuing on with sports, I'm very interested in what's going on in the MLB playoffs. Unfortunately, I haven't been watching the playoffs that much, but I did take a look at some information on MLB's website that I'm interested in, where it looks like for the first time in quite some time, the Dodgers are not being choke artists. Well, let's face it, the Dodgers have won the National League West 5 years in a row, I believe. And every time they seem to find a way to always choke in the playoffs. But they actually finally rallied together and and have gone to the World Series for the first time since, well, the year I was born, 1988, which they beat my Oakland A's in, but nevertheless, yeah. And the ALCS, I'm actually very interested in knowing what the result of that will be. It looks like the Yankees are leading the Astros 3-2. But the Astros are the home team for Game 6, and that will be the case in Game 7. So the Astros do have a chance to come back. Justin Verlander's on the Astros now, and he's still quite good. He's played a long time, but he's still quite good. I'd love to see the Astros come back and see them go to the World Series for the first time since they were in the National League, and they were in the World Series in 2005 when they lost to the White Sox, who finally won for the first time since 1919. So this time, if the Astros make it, they'd be in the American League. So it'd be interesting to see Astros and Dodgers. They both have
they both are offensive powerhouses with lots of great pitching. I really don't want to see the Yankees go back there again. They have so much history, so much pride. They've won the World Series 27 times, and as recently as 2009 they won. And I mean, I know it's going to get a lot of buzz. A lot of people are going to watch if it's the Yankees against the Dodgers, LA against New York, the two biggest cities in the whole country. But, gosh, it's just, I'm tired of seeing the Yankees win all the time, you know? I mean, for the last several years, they've been kind of average to mediocre because the team's been aging. And this time around, I do respect them for actually pulling it off and, you know, building a team from their farm system and moving up instead of just, you know, buying players from every other team, buying the best players from other teams. They actually were using their minor league system, their farm system, to raise players from the ground up to build up their team. So I respect the Yankees for actually taking that step this time to be good instead of just buying players from other teams. But I don't want to see them in the World Series. They're probably going to be there. It's going to be them against the Dodgers. If that's the case, I'm going to root for the Dodgers to win that. I mean, I'd rather see them win than the Yankees, that's for sure. If the Astros go there, despite me being an A's fan and the Astros being a division rival, I wouldn't mind seeing the Astros actually win. I mean, they deserve it. They've built up this team. The Astros were so bad throughout the 2010s and the late 2000s. I mean, ever since they lost the World Series in 2005, they have been pretty bad for some reason. And for quite some time. I mean, of course, the team that played in 2005 was old anyways, so that might have had something to do with it. A lot of them retired and stuff. But even in the 2010s, they were so bad for so many years, and then recently they started to get good again. And now look at them. They're in the ALCS, and they have a chance. They still have a chance to go to the World Series. In less than an hour, they'll be playing Game 6 of the ALCS. Hopefully, those of you who are watching this stream will actually still join me a few hours from now when I live stream the new South Park Fractured But Whole on Sly 88 Fry. I mean, if you want, I guess you could watch my live stream of that game while you watch the ALCS live. Because come on, let's face it, in baseball, it takes forever. I mean, look at the batters. Like, okay, time to bat, about to bat. All right. Oh, got to make sure the bat's okay. Hit the knee, bat's okay. Hold on, timeout, hold on, my gloves, got to tighten my gloves, Okay, tighten my gloves, awesome. Okay, bat's good. All right, hold on, stay out of the batter's box. I don't want him to pitch to me, I'm not ready yet. Well, what'd you say, manager? What'd you want me to do? Bunt? Oh, swing? Oh, okay, awesome. All right. Let's get back in the batter's box. Okay, let's get ready to swing. Okay, hit the knee. Got to make sure the bat's okay. I'm superstitious and got to do things in an exact routine every time. Okay. All right, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to swing. And then at the same time, as the batter takes forever, the pitcher's like, okay, got the ball in my hand, put in the glove. All right, awesome. Oh, got this little sack here to keep my hand dirty and moist and all this stuff. Okay, put it down. Oh, I need more of that stuff. Put it down. Okay, got the ball. All right, awesome. Ball's fine, put it back in the glove. Crap, I gotta, make sure, stretch out, whatever. Okay, yeah. Okay, oh, gotta check the runner first, throw the runner first. Okay, he's safe. No point of throwing it to the guy at first, but I'll do it again anyways. All right, let's do it again. He's never gonna steal second, but I'm gonna throw it the first anyway. Okay. They're checking the guy again. She's checking the guy. No, he's good. Okay. Nope, throw it again. And then, finally, he's finally ready to pitch it to the batter. I obviously I'm exaggerating, but you know how it works. But in baseball, that's what they do. They waste time. They constantly are wasting time. It's probably why less people watch it than there used to be. Not to mention, managers come out from the dugout, stall the game to talk to the umpires for 5 minutes to get their pitchers ready and stuff, and the game's not even going and nothing's happening. But, it's ALCS. It'll be fun, and if you're going to watch it, you might as well live stream my upcoming stream coming up in a few hours on Sly 88 Fry as well, because there's going to be a lot of downtime for sure. Anyways, so that's baseball. I decided not to do any predictions this year because honestly, my prediction videos don't really get very many views anyways. And I mean, I have to spend so much time, I have to put all this editing in so little time to make those videos that I just don't really have time for anything else. So I just don't do them. Now, baseball playoffs. Here's something that was cool. I went to an A's game in September with my wife. First time she's ever been to a game. Not the first time I've been to a game. I've been to a lot of A's games, but not as many over the recent years. But yeah, we went to a game, and the A's beat the Rangers 1-0. And it was the first time I ever went to a fireworks show at the stadium. It was a Star Wars fireworks show. It was really awesome. And anytime your team's doing a Star Wars themed fireworks show, I recommend it for sure. Go to that game. The wait for the fireworks to happen after the game, all worth it. And actually, traffic on the way home wasn't even that bad, surprisingly. It was actually okay. I was surprised by that. All right, so I want to talk briefly about the A's, though. They're an interesting team to me because here's the funny thing about them. I'll actually show you some MLB standings for the 2017 regular season. Just a sec. Okay. Look at this. The A's, their record is 75-87, last in the American League West, tied for the third worst record in the American League, period. And only above several National League teams. But anyways, their home record is amazing, and their home record is abysmal. Can you imagine how good this team could have been if they'd actually played better on the road? Like, they'd be in the playoff hunt. Now, I want to talk about something right now. Usually, in recent years, the better league, in my opinion, has usually been the American League. Although I think in recent years, well, at least throughout the past 10 years, but I think in the most recent of years, I think it's been the National League. Because let me show you something. Look how weak the teams that didn't go to the playoffs are. The only American League teams with winning records are all the teams that made the playoffs, which means that the remaining teams that didn't go to the playoffs weren't even that competitive. They weren't. I mean, that's sad. Usually a playoff race is a lot closer than that. I mean, the division race in the AL East was determined by 2 games. That's pretty competitive. But, I mean, it's the Red Sox and Yankees. Usually they are pretty competitive. The Indians, thanks to that point when they had that 22-game win streak, they dominated, and they won their division by 17 games. The Twins, they took the playoffs by 5 games, while the Yankees took the other spot above them by 6. I mean, it wasn't really close, you know. Astros took the division by 21 games. Now look at the National League. The National League East, other than the Nationals, was pretty terrible. National League Central had some competitiveness to an extent, but the Cubs, by the time the year ended, pretty much ran away with it. National League West, the Dodgers ran away with it the whole year. But the wild card fight was very competitive. The Diamondbacks were well ahead in that, but the Rockies only took that spot by 1 game over the Brewers. So I'd say at least this season, the National League was probably just much better than the American League. It was more competitive, which I don't really find to be that usual to really happen, you know? So, yeah, a lot has changed. I mean, I could even in the National Football League, for the past 10 years, generally, the AFC has been the far superior conference to the NFC. But lately, I'd say that it's been the other way around. I mean, yes, the AFC, it's usually a team from the AFC winning the Super Bowl, Patriots, Broncos. That's who the teams have been recently. Most recently, in the past 3 years, Patriots, Broncos, and Patriots. But, like, competitively overall, the NFC's been a little more competitive when it comes to its teams. Much closer division battles, much closer playoff battles. And not to mention the AFC, there's the AFC South, and that division's just a joke. That division's so bad. I mean, it's not the worst division I've seen. The worst division ever is the 2014 NFC South. But lately, the AFC South, I think, has been holding back the AFC conference as a whole competitively because of how poor that division's been. Hopefully, some team will break out of that. I'd say my money's on the Texans just because of that defense they have, but they're not that. I mean, they're not really that great either. Now, recently, the NBA season has started, and I'm just going to talk briefly about the NBA. I don't really find watching basketball to be that interesting, and the reason why is because, I mean, the game, to me, just kind of drags on. It's just score, 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 score. It just doesn't seem very interesting when all that's happening is that teams just constantly scoring points all the time. I mean, yeah, there's sometimes a defensive stop every once in a while, but hardly anything really happens for the most part from what I've seen. And the other thing that bores me about the NBA is that, honestly, there's really no parity in the league. It's always the same teams that dominate. And a prime example is, well, I'm happy to see that my local team, the Golden State Warriors, are pretty much the best team in recent history. But it's just been the Warriors and the Cavaliers. Unless you're a fan of the Warriors or the Cavaliers, you're probably bored with the NBA because it's always the Warriors and the Cavaliers. For 3 straight years, it was the Warriors against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals, which tells me that just the NBA in general just isn't really that competitive if it's just the same 2 teams every year. I mean, some could say, oh, it's just because those 2 teams are just so amazing. And yes, they are. They're really amazing teams. And even not that long ago, the Cavaliers were not that good until they got LeBron James back. But look at this. The last 7, I think, or 8. No, the last 7 consecutive NBA Finals, the team that was represented in the Eastern Conference was a team with LeBron James on it. Which now tells me that one player makes way too much of a difference in this league, which is why I just don't find it very interesting. I mean, for example, in the NFL, Andrew Luck, when he's healthy, he's a very great quarterback, but his team never really does that good because they don't have much around him to help him. I'll think of a better example. Drew Brees, Saints quarterback, always leads the league in passing yards every year. Look it up. He leads the league in passing yards every year, and yet his teams always go 7-9 because his supporting cast isn't very good. His receivers are great. His center is good. Some of his offensive line is good and bad, but the defense is so bad that the Saints are having to just outscore opponents in order to win games. And that's why, even though they have such a dominant quarterback there, they still, don't win. They still lose more than they win. So that makes it much more of a team sport than the NBA for sure. I mean, if you have one player in 7 straight NBA Finals, that just really shows that he's just above everybody else, and that one player makes all the difference. Now, in every major sport, one player can make a huge difference, but not that huge of a difference, which is why I do find the NBA to be kind of dull. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate how great the Golden State Warriors have been lately. And I respect LeBron James for always playing his hardest year in and year out, no matter what team he was on, the Heat, the Cavaliers, whoever, no matter what. But, yeah, personally, I just find the NBA boring. High school games that are determined by like 112 to 110 just kind of bore me. It's like, oh, all I'm doing is waiting for the last 2 minutes of the game to find any entertainment value. That's how I feel. Now, I will say this, in my personal opinions, and of course I'm not an expert. it's probably going to be the Golden State Warriors in the finals again. I mean, they still got that core there, and they still got Kevin Durant. They still got Steph Curry there, who's probably the best three-point shooter in the entire league, and many other players that they actually pretty much built from within, with the exception of Kevin Durant, who they signed from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I will say, good job. What's his name? Westbrook. I forgot his first name, but Westbrook for taking charge, becoming the leader of the Thunder after the former leader Kevin Durant left. So good job on you, Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook. That's right. Now, Eastern Conference team that's going to be in the finals probably going to be the Cavaliers again anyway. I mean, it's just, who else could it be? But anyway, now on to the NHL. Recently, the NHL season started, and I'm actually very curious as to how it goes. I sound as a Sharks fan, and I'm a bit worried about the direction the team's going to go this year. A couple years ago, they finally, for the first time, were in the Stanley Cup final. Took them long enough. They seem to have always had a team capable of making it there, but they just never quite got there until 2 seasons ago. But as expected, they lost to the Penguins. I mean, it's not like they choked or anything. The Sharks didn't choke 2 years ago. The fact is, they upset some teams that they probably weren't expected to beat in order to get there. And when they got there, they played against a team that they were definitely not expected to win against, because the Penguins had already had that Stanley Cup final experience anyways. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, all that stuff. Those who say the Sharks choked, they didn't. They were not expected to win that. Even I, as a Sharks fan, was like, I'll just be happy just because they made it. But as much as I want to see them beat the Penguins, I honestly feel they probably won't. And I was right. The Sharks put up a fight. They lost in 6 games, I think it was. So it was competitive. But, I mean, as expected, they lost. They didn't choke. If anything, the Warriors choked back then, because somehow, after 73 wins and only 9 losses, they lost the NBA Finals. And I think they might have had, I haven't looked it up, but I think the amount of losses they had in the playoffs either totaled equal to the amount of losses they had in the regular season or more, which is really weird. Not expected. Or at least totaled close to it. All right, so the thing that's going to be difficult for the Sharks is one of their main stars, who they've had since they drafted him, I believe, in 1998, Patrick Marleau. He signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs for some reason, a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since, well, I don't know when was the last time they were in the playoffs, to be honest. It's been a long time. I think he just did it for the money or something, and he just maybe just wanted to return to Canada or something like that. But, I mean, he's been a Shark his whole career, and now he's gone, and it's going to put a bit of a hole in the team. I mean, they still got Joe Thornton. They still got Joe Pavelski. He's incredible. They still got Logan Couture. I got a jersey of him, actually. I'm not going to look for it, though. And it's going to be tough. But I'd say the Sharks still have a shot. They are missing Patrick Marleau, but they could still be a playoff team. Now, I want to talk about the lack of vision of the NHL. The NHL has a lack of vision, and here's why I say that. I think it was in the late 90s or the early 2000s. I forget when it was, but they started a team in Arizona, the Phoenix Coyotes. They're now just called the Arizona Coyotes, so whatever the hell's the difference. They're both in, regardless, Arizona. Anyways, a team in Arizona for hockey. Who in Arizona is going to watch a hockey team play? I mean, they have no interest in hockey in the desert. And they keep being the dead horse. They keep wanting to keep the team there, even though the team wants to move. But the answer is like, oh, stay there, stay there. You'll get the fans in Arizona. Let's get fans from the desert. Like, who's going to want to watch hockey while in the desert? Come on. Really? Gosh, it'd be like trying to, I don't know, let's see, promote some kind of cricket team in the United States, and cricket isn't popular here at all. It's popular in the UK, but not here. That'd just be ridiculous. And yeah, the hockey, the NHL is still continuing to beat that dead horse, because now they started a team in Las Vegas called the Vegas Golden Knights. What a huge inconvenience. An expansion draft came, and players who were not as unneeded players from all the other NHL teams got drafted to the Golden Knights, as well as just a standard regular draft, whatever. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to suck for several years because they're just starting out, and not to mention, there's not going to be any fans of that team. Who's going to? Once again, it's a hockey team in the desert. That experiment already failed with the Coyotes. Now the Vegas Golden Knights. Why are you trying to do two desert hockey teams? Make sure one of them works, and if it doesn't, get that team out of there to somewhere else where it will work. 10 years ago, there was a team called the Atlanta Thrashers. They moved to Winnipeg, became the Winnipeg Jets, and as far as I know, they've got a lot more fans since moving back to Canada. That's for sure. Heck, the Calgary Flames were originally the Atlanta Flames before, which is why they're called the Calgary Flames, even though they're in Canada, and Flames don't really represent the cold, snowy mountains of Canada very well. But, well, we're the Flames because they're in Atlanta, and that made sense down there. Oh, well, I've been going off on a tangent talking about many things. Another thing I'd like to bring up. I'm going to briefly go over the fires here in California a little bit more. Like I said, the good news is rain came down, and what sucks is it's not enough rain. It wasn't that much rain, but it is helping to deteriorate the fire a bit. What does really piss me off, though, I'll show you real quick when I get to it. Okay. All right. Our president, the one that only about 45% of voters voted for, and only had the second most votes, but still nevertheless won the general election because of the stupid electoral college. Shut up, right-wingers. You know you'd complain exactly the same if it was reversed and Hillary won the electoral college while Trump got the popular vote. You know you'd complain. Don't be a hypocrite and say you wouldn't. Trump, judging from his response to the wildfires, Trump doesn't care about California. What an asshole. Not to mention, I read a news story. I'm not going to look for it now, but I read a news story that pointed out that despite the fires going on here in Northern California, a friend of mine lost his home, by the way, and thousands of people are homeless. Hundreds of people are missing. Over 40 people have died. If this fire happens again, if another fire happens during Trump's presidency, things are going to be even worse. Simply because this. Now, like I said, I'm not going to try to look for the news story. It shouldn't be hard to find, though. Trump plans to reduce funding for the wildfires. No, damn it, I said it wrong. Trump plans to reduce, what I just said made no sense. Trump plans to reduce funding towards fighting fires. I've never once ever been convinced that Trump has ever done a good job as president, and now I have even more reason to be convinced that he's the worst president we've ever had. And there is literally nothing that's ever going to convince me otherwise. Now, he's not the craziest president, because if you look it up in history, the craziest president was probably Andrew Jackson. Yes, the guy on our $20 bill. But Trump is the worst. Despite how much the fires have ravished Northern California, he plans to reduce funding towards fighting fires. What the fuck is it going to take for Trump supporters to realize that there is nothing you should support him on? There's no reason to support the guy. He hasn't accomplished a damn thing as president. And just go to Vox, watch the video of side-by-side first 100 days between Barack Obama and Donald Trump, and you'll see a huge difference in who's accomplished what. Obama signed a few things into law and accomplished a few other things in his first 100 days. He didn't do like a shitload of stuff because it's only 100 days, but he did accomplish a few things. Trump accomplished nothing, and the only thing he beat Obama in the first 100 days was go golfing more often. Obama went golfing 0 times during those first 100 days. So even though Obama was a disappointment, I think it was a disappointment. I voted for him both times, but I still think it was a disappointment. But at least an average president. At least he worked his ass off, unlike our current president, who said he'd work his ass off, but he isn't. Not to mention, when the amount of times we point out how Hillary used the government email account for her own personal business, Trump's own kids, his own family, is actually doing exactly the same thing, which goes to show that the president of the United States is a complete hypocrite. It does not fall through with his word, and is a flat-out liar. Flat-out liar. He should... Honestly, if Congress wasn't so Republican and a bunch of enablers, not to mention if Trump's vice president wasn't so homophobic, and honestly, Trump would be impeached by now. But now let's talk about how let's talk briefly about the way this government works. Impeaching the president, kicking him out of office, the vice president takes over. That's very flawed in itself because the vice president was chosen by the president. If the president was too terrible to do his job and gets kicked out, his vice president shouldn't take over. There should be a new election held instead. Congress can take charge for a little while that's going on. Okay? I mean, maybe Supreme Court can go in there, whatever. What I like is in the UK, there's a system called no confidence. It's where if the prime minister is too incompetent at his job or too terrible at his job, there's a vote of no confidence. I forget if it's by the citizens or by the parliament. I forget. But there's a vote of no confidence to get him taken out of office and hold a new election. We should have that here, honestly, because the president is given too much leeway. I mean, especially considering how terrible the one currently is. Go on about that. Back to the NFL. The fact that he wants to suppress athletes from protesting the national anthem is ridiculous. Protesting the national anthem is freedom of speech. So all the right-wingers who always talk about how they love freedom of speech, you're hypocrites. I'm sorry, all of you are hypocrites. You can't just say freedom of speech is great, but when it's against your beliefs, it's not okay. It should be banned. You can't just do that. Okay? You can't. That's like me saying, yeah, the minimum wage should go up. But if you think it shouldn't go up, you should just shut the fuck up and just go kill yourself. That'd be the same thing as saying that. I'm sorry, but freedom of speech is freedom of speech for everyone, no exceptions. You can't just say that for certain aspects, freedom of speech isn't allowed. If that were the case, then racism should be banned. If you're going to have exceptions for freedom of speech, then get rid of racism. Besides, Trump defended violent white supremacist protesters with all the bullshit he said to defend them, which made no sense. But he's completely against pro athletes kneeling during the national anthem. Is that really that harmful? Why does that hurt you so much? All they're doing is kneeling while looking at a piece of thread. Okay? Our veterans didn't fight just for a flag. They fought to protect our freedoms, which included freedom of speech. All right. Let me take a little break for a bit here, actually. Because I just got reminded of something I wanted to show. Or not. Excuse me. This won't be long. I'm just looking for something in particular I need to find. So I can just show you real quick. It's actually something from one of my more recent videos. It was the first video where I talked about Trump and his fascist stance against NFL players protesting.
What's up?
Okay. All right, I'm going to do a screen share to show you, and I'll talk over it while I'm showing you. This is not made up. All I did was search, what do veterans really think about Colin Kaepernick's kneel? Very easy to find. Veterans are with him. They aren't there. They aren't fighting to protect just some flag. They are fighting to protect the rights of Americans, which include freedom of speech, which also includes the right to protest. Without protesting, as I said in the original video that I uploaded, without protesting, the government could do whatever the hell they want, and nobody would stop them. Or nobody would protest and pressure them. Protesting is a right to every citizen. No exceptions. No exceptions. If you think there are exceptions, then you don't actually truly believe in freedom of speech. You're a complete hypocrite if you say you do believe in freedom of speech, but you think freedom of speech should be banned when it comes to protesting a flag. And now, sadly, Commissioner Roger Goodell folded over like the little bitch he is. I'm sorry, Roger Goodell is a terrible NFL commissioner. All NFL fans pretty much agree on that. Same with the players. There are so many players who hate him as a commissioner, by the way. He's peeling over and suggesting that players should not associate their political agenda while during the national anthem, during games. Shut up, Goodell. Don't fold over. The NFL players have the freedom of speech. They have a right to protest. Now, this has gone on quite some time. In about 20 minutes, the Game 6 of the ALCS will start between the Yankees and Astros. So I'm sure you guys who are into sports, or especially into baseball, will enjoy that. Stay tuned in a few hours when I do a live stream of the brand new game, South Park, Fractured But Whole. It's going to be the PC version, and I played a little bit of South Park: The Stick of Truth on the PC, because in my purchase of South Park: The Fractured But Whole, it included South Park: The Stick of Truth. So I got to practice playing this kind of RPG South Park style on the original game, and I'll be playing the sequel on the live stream pretty soon. I hope you guys tune in. Yes, there's probably gonna be some spoilers in there. I mean, but if you want to at least watch the game and enjoy it, see how it's played, see somebody commenting on it, check it out. It's going to be on my other channel, Slide 8 Fry. As for those of you who have watched this stream, or at least watched the video of the finished stream, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you click that bell icon to get notifications whenever I upload any videos or do any live streams. And stay tuned on my other channel, Sly 88 Fry, where I'm going to do a live stream of South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Thanks so much for watching.